Welcome to the Ricky Mathews Show from the Citizens Bank Studio. We really appreciate you joining us as we continue to celebrate all the amazing people across the state of Mississippi who are working really hard to make this such a great place to live, work, and play. Hey, we really appreciate you joining us on SuperTalk TV, or some of you watch on Facebook or YouTube or your favorite podcasts. Obviously, a bunch of you are listening on 103.1 FM SuperTalk. We're thrilled that you're here. It's a pleasure to be here. I really, really enjoy the conversations we have. I'll appreciate the feedback. We can learn so much from these guests that I have. You never learn at all. You know that. The more you learn, the more you better learn how much you don't know. So that keeps us humble, that's for sure. So it's been a great learning opportunity for Kyle and me, and we are thrilled to be here. And as we near the end of the year, it is a great opportunity for us to reflect a bit on what it takes to build a great community. And, one of the things that is clear in the conversations that I have on this show is that local retail businesses are literally at the heartbeat of coastal Mississippi. And what they do is important. So they're weaving together a community spirit. They're making a statement about economic resilience when you think about so many different and diverse businesses and what they have to do to remain competitive and successful. Think about the natural disasters like Hurricane Katrina. That ultimately defines what economic resilience is all about. They bring a unique character to the communities, and I believe it's a character you can't find elsewhere. They're not only providing goods and services, and that's true. And some of them you can only find what you can get there, only there. But they're also contributing toward creating a very unique sense of place in the communities that make up coastal Mississippi. I often say that it is the retail businesses that give that unique sense of place to the communities that we have here. And each is very unique. And we rely on those retail businesses to do what they do. Every time that we spend money, though, every single time that we spend money, we're actually literally casting a vote for the kind of community we want to live in. And if we care deeply about coastal Mississippi, we'll spend as much of that money local. Shopping locally is incredibly important. I just can't state how important that is, not only to us as residents that want to continue to enjoy the great communities that make up this region we call coastal Mississippi, but it also creates an environment where tourists come and they experience something unique and special, and they want to come back again. So, when we spend our money locally, that's what it is. So if there is a theme for today's show, it is shop local. And I really want to focus on what it really takes to stay successful. Listen, my guest today has been with us before, but with the help of the SBA, his wife and his wife Rose and Ferrell Alman, started SF Alman Limited back in March of 1983 on Courthouse Road in the same shopping center at the time. They've moved since, but where Little Ray's was located. A year later, they added women's clothing. And if my math is right, that's like 39 years later. They're still rolling and adapting. And it's really a great story. So if you didn't see the original story with Ferrell, I would really encourage you to go and listen to the entire evolution of his business. But today, it's going to be more about what it takes to stay successful in an increasingly competitive market. So without any further ado, I just want to welcome my friend Ferrell Alman back to the Ricky Mathews Show. How you doing, Ferrell?
I'm doing well, Ricky. Thanks for having me back. Pleasure to be here to talk to you.
Well, it's good to see you. And I would call your company, SF Alman on Courthouse Road, one of the many unique stories in coastal Mississippi where you have literally stood the test of time. So people who have not been to SF Alman's before, why don't you kind of introduce them to your company and highlight some of the uniqueness of it there in Gulfport?
Well, we've actually been in business 41 years now. And we're a specialty store selling men's and ladies' clothing and accessories and shoes and gifts and things like that. And just like you say, we've evolved. Started out just in men's, and a year later we added women's. Started actually with a little hat rack from Norman shirt makers who made men's shirts. They started making ladies' dresses out of the Madras fabrics that I bought shirts from. Thomas family. Matter of fact, Barbara Shalom, God rest her soul, her family, the Thomases, had the Norman Shirt Company. And so we added a few ladies' dresses to it, and then from there it just has taken off. So, but we try to specialize in clothing and accessories that you just can't find in a lot of places, a lot of big box stores. And then, of course, offer the service that if we've always said, if we don't have it, we can try to get it. If we can't get it, we'll try to make it. If we can't make it, you probably don't need it.
It is 41 years, incidentally. When I did the original math on this, I did it from the last conversation we had when you were on a couple of years ago. So thanks for correcting. 41 years of resiliency.
Oh, yeah. Sometimes it seems like 410 years, and other days only like 41 days. So retail business can be good and bad.
You have to love what you're doing. If you don't have a passion for what you're doing, especially in the retail business, you're a toast, aren't you?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, you've got to, do what you like what you do. And in the clothing business, it's great because it changes every 6 months. You've got a change in the season. So you go from our fall and winter right now, and then we'll move into spring and summer, which, believe it or not, the companies are already gearing up to start shipping their spring goods here in end of January, February. Matter of fact, I've already had to start working lines for fall 25. Some of my lines have got to have the orders in by the end of the year so they can start making their product for fall 25. So, yeah, it's not just in the season that you're in. You're always having to plan and look forward to what's going to come next.
I went to a very successful store in Biloxi yesterday to do a return for Ann. And well, actually, we're going to do an exchange. It ended up being returned because they didn't have any more of them. But she had bought something for the kids that wasn't working properly. And as we were walking through the store, she said to me, "This is where it used to be, but they've cleared some rows out and they're beginning to sort of restock this." I said, "Really? Christmas has been that successful?" Well, she said, "Well, yeah, Christmas has been successful, but we're already getting ready for the spring." And I said, "Like, you're kidding me." But I mean, you got to think that way, don't you?
Yeah, we're not quite that way, and I think there's going to try to be a shift, to where a lot of times people put stuff on sale on the coldest part of the weather, in the wintertime. But so no, we gauge hours to come in at an appropriate time where the weather is right for that. So, but no, we luckily have a store full with Christmas being here. Of course, this is our busiest time of year. So this is when we make it or break it. As I tell people, I've been waiting on Christmas since December the 26th of last year.
I know that's true from having been in the advertising business for so long. It's critical. It's the nuclear energy that's going to enable you to live another year. But listen, Ferrell, there's a lot of trends that we can talk about, but I think one of the most noted trends is the continual evolution of e-commerce and online sales, and coming back to this notion of brick and mortar. How have you adapted to that trend and continue to remain competitive?
Well, as we've talked before, it's building loyal customers. It's those customers that have been with us for 41 years. We've got customers that are new, that come in and say, "Wow, I didn't know you were here. Wow, y'all got great stuff." And then we try to follow that up with the service to be able to find out what they need and then try to provide that need. And if we don't have it, then, we'll try to say, "Well, here's where you go, where you might be able to get that." But if we don't have it, we try to get it. And then we just apply the golden rule. We want to treat people the way, treat people the way you want to be treated. And that's one of the main things, is offering things that are unique and different that you just can't get everywhere else. Use the golden rule. And then also, everything we try to do, try to have good value. It doesn't have to be expensive, to be a good product. I mean, you look at a big pen. A big pen gives you it does what it's supposed to do. It writes, but yet you can have a Mont Blanc or a beautiful $200 or $300 pen that does the same thing. It's just a matter of what your priority is on what you want to have. Something that's simple like that, which we have, or you can go and get the fanciest, nicest, better quality. And so we try to offer things like that too, from basic things all the way up to better goods too.
What's interesting, and this was certainly a trend that I was even before I retired in 2016. But you would have thought with e-commerce speeding forward the way it was, and companies like Amazon exploding and all of that. So all the great retailers, in order for them to survive, the ones that did, they had to have a huge online component to what they're doing. What I observed, though, was an evolution of more of a commitment from local consumers to shop locally. Have you seen a palatable change as it relates to that?
I had somebody in just the other day, Ricky, that came in. He was going hunting, as a matter of fact, and he was looking for a particular Patagonia jacket that I did not have that model in it. He wanted one with a hood. I didn't have it. I said, "Yeah, I'll try to get it. When are you leaving?" He said, "Well, I'm leaving Wednesday." I said, "Well, I can't get it quickly like that." But he finally said, "You know what? I still want to buy it from you. I've got something else I can use. Go ahead and order it, and I'll pick it up when it comes in." So that was a really reassuring to know that, okay, there are local folks that do want to shop local and support local, and God bless them.
When we come back on the other side with Ferrell Alman, we'll continue our conversation about what it takes to be successful as a local retailer. We'll see you after this break. Welcome back to the Ricky Mathews Show from the Citizens Bank Studio. We're having a conversation with Ferrell Alman from SF Alman in Gulfport, and we're talking about what it takes to stay successful and relevant in the retail business, small business environment in coastal Mississippi. And thank God we've had so many local retailers that are committed. It is a passion for them, as we were saying before we went to break. If they didn't have that passion, they'd probably go find something else to do. It can be a tough business at times. But if you're focused on making the proper adjustments to your business and treating people the way they want to be treated, and working on loyalty and having relevant and trendy stuff, you have a good chance of making it. And I think that kind of defines Ferrell's world these days. Hey, Ferrell, one quick thing, and we'll come back to, I want to make sure we cover the internet piece really well. I actually had this huge commitment to shopping locally, and I had a specific kind of tennis shoe that I wanted to buy. I could have bought it from Amazon. So I did my research, and I go to the store, but they didn't have the specific shoe that I wanted. And so I tried. We even tried some things that were close to it, and it didn't work out. Ended up having to buy it online. Couldn't get it anywhere else. And so the next time I had, this pair wore out. Or I run a lot, so I go through tennis shoes pretty rapidly. And I went back there again, and they had exactly what I was looking for. And they had another one like it that was also great. So I bought 2 pair on the next trip. And I reminded them that I couldn't buy the last pair. And, man, they were blown away by it. But I love making statements like that about my commitment to local. And you were telling a similar story, and I think that's awesome.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. God bless you for doing that. And that's kind of how you diversify. You kind of say, okay, I'm getting calls for this. Let me make sure I bring in that style of shoe to make sure I've got plenty of those, or kind of see what the trends are, see what people are wanting. You know, we have a big college business, so we always try to look at, well, what are the college guys and girls wearing? You know, what shoes are they wearing? What kind of jackets are they wearing? And so there's a lot of trends out there. And then you have to kind of look and see what's going on the internet, too, to kind of see, okay, who's selling what on the internet. And, you know, when the internet came around, and, you know, when we progressed from simple computers back, I remember when I first bought our computer in the 80s, it was $12,000 for a computer to help us do inventory and things like that and keep up with sales to make it easier. And then the fax machine came out, you know, and then POS systems, and then the internet. And then with the internet, I got to thinking, well, what's the hardest thing to sell on the internet? You know, what can I sell? What can I offer that you just can't get on the internet? And the big picture of things is like, well, who's not going to be affected? And you've got like, well, funeral homes. You know, you can't get buried on the internet. But then those guys, they have to compete. You know, the O'Keeffes and the Riemanns and Williams, they all have to compete with coffins being sold online. You can order a coffin online now. And then I thought, well, haircuts. You know, you can't get a haircut online. How's that going to affect? Matter of fact, I got my haircut this morning with Chuck Kelly. We were talking about it, and he said, there are engineers out there that create some type of, you know, the big hair dryers they'd put on their head. And he said, there's a way they might be able to suck your hair up and the machine cuts your hair in a vacuum or something like that. But then he's got to compete with the product that he sells you can buy it online, where there were things that some of these products that were exclusive and really, really good, they would vet who the salon is to be able to sell that product so that make sure the quality was there. Well, now they're all selling online direct to consumer. So and that's one of our challenges, too, with the Internet, is we compete with our vendors. Our vendors are now selling online. And so, that's great to be able to get an exclusive maybe on a line that nobody else is going to have on the coast. But yet there they are online selling. And so we have to compete with that. And that's a challenge with that also. But again, we try to offer the selection, and you can't touch it. You can't feel it. You can't try it on online. And so that's where the local retailer can step up. You were asking, well, what are other local retailers can do to compete with it? Well, people want to be able to touch and feel it and try it on and see what it's like and see what the color is. Sometimes the color's not represented exactly right. So, that's how the local guy can compete with the Internet. And for me, how I try to do it is one thing that's not sold is my suit and sport coat business has never been better, because it's hard to buy a suit or a sport coat and get one that's going to fit. And so you can come in and we get the guy in the right fit. We alter it for them, pick out all the accessories to go with it. You can buy a suit, but then what are you going to put with it? And so the experience of being in the store to get exactly what you want and being able to see it and touch it, sometimes there's things like that on the Internet you just can't do. You have to do in a local store.
Hey, you mentioned the $12,000 computer, but one of the really important areas that you've had to make sure that you're focused on, and that is like implementing technology. I mean, we think about point of sale or inventory management or customer engagement tools and all this stuff. You've had to really stay on top of that kind of stuff.
Yeah, you stay on top of all that, and you try to bring into your business that works for you. But then sometimes it gets to be a little too much, of what you need. And so we're still old school in our store. Believe it or not, we still do handwritten tickets. I don't have a POS system out front. We do all our back office accounting, our inventory management, things like that. But we still write up our tickets by hand. It has worked for us for 41 years. And it's kept us in business. So a POS system involves a whole lot of upfront to get it going and all like that. And we said, you know what, this has been working for us. But it does help to give you a back office and things like that. But the technology for that, even speaking of technology and in the retail, they now have this AI and mapping to where they can map your body, to also, speaking of the haircut, with the engineered machine to do that. They're engineering things now for people for mapping to size you up to determine your size and things like that. So, yeah, it's the technology that's out there is amazing, and it's going to be interesting to see where it goes from here.
Well, one thing is for sure, it may make marketing smarter. It may make how you communicate with customers smarter. It may be how you assess customer sizes, like you just mentioned. But still, people want to try it on and see it and touch it, and thank God you have that element.
God bless them, that they still want to come in and try it on, and then we'll gift wrap it. And the other beauty of the thing is, you can return it and right there and get something else the same day. You don't have to worry about boxing something off and sending it off and everything like that. So, and just having the experience in the store, you can't beat that.
Well, how do you, it's interesting because I follow you on social media, and I see you've always been successful in hiring very young people who work in your store. How do you get them to sort of buy into the culture of your store and what your goals are?
We've got a great group of young people that are high school kids that work there and then go on to college, and they'll come back to work for us during Christmas holidays or in the summer too when they're home from summer school or down here. But the ones that are local, we try to draw on, again, their families and the way they've been raised. I like to say, if they were raised right, and if they just get it, if they just love to be around people and love product. If they don't love clothes, they usually learn to, because at that age, they're all forming their whole fashion sense. And so if they didn't have some type of fashion sense, they just wouldn't come work for us just to get a paycheck. So, yeah, developing them and then just being an example and showing them how to wait on people and let them buy into that thing of building loyal customers, that they're the most important part of our business is, treating the customer the way you want to be treated, because they're the ones that pay your paycheck every month. And so, that you've got to be able to cater to those customers and make sure they want to come back and make it a great experience for them. And then, we all, the vets, the older folks there at the store that work there, we try to set an example too and show them how to sell and how to treat people and just how to be a good retailer.
Well, it helps that you and your wife are there a lot, and you have a long-term manager who's been there for a long time. That continuity is very important, isn't it?
Oh yeah, and and that's again what a lot of locals come back just to come see David. Many a time I've got to say, they come in and say, we need to see David. He remembers this. And he has the mind of an elephant. He can remember a kid, what he bought in 8th grade and know his size. And, if he's gotten older, we might have to get him in to remeasure and all. But if somebody's buying a gift, David can remember what they got for him last time. And he's great at that. Many a time I have to ask him, now, what was Bill's size last time he was in last year? Do you remember? And so, he does help if somebody's buying a gift or something like that. He's very helpful in remembering things like that.
That's really cool. I mean, have you always had a sense of what the culture of your company was going to be as it relates to creating loyalty, or has it just evolved over time?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think I've always known. It has evolved, also, but. Luckily, working at the Rogue in Jackson, I was there for almost 4 years, and they had that, and it was a great group of guys, a lot of them that have gone on to open up stores elsewhere, but just learning the retail trade up there, and then coming back down here and applying it. And, I've been talking generalities, but to get more specific, like as to, where we try to offer the, unique products and things like that. Yeah, I'll go to market and I'll find something that's like, this is the neatest alpaca sweater. You haven't seen alpaca in a while. Well, wow, look at the great patterns they're doing with alpaca. It's no longer just solids. I'll look for neat gadgets and gifts, which I have more fun with that than anything else, is finding like these unique flashlights and things like that. So, yeah, that's probably more fun for me, is the gadget part of the business.
That's cool, and that's a great part of your business. When we come back, we'll continue our conversation with Ferrell Alman of SF Alman, talking about what does it take to be successful today in retail. We'll see you after this. Welcome back to the Ricky Mathews Show from the Citizens Bank Studio. Listen, as I said at the beginning of the show, local business is at the heartbeat of coastal Mississippi. They're weaving together this community spirit, I think economic resilience. What they do to stay relevant is so important. And they bring a unique character to each of the cities that help create that unique sense of place that exists in each of the cities that make up coastal Mississippi. And man, let me just tell you, it is hugely important that we all make a commitment to shopping locally. That's if there's a narrative for this show, that's it. And one of the things that Ferrell Alman and I talked about, Ferrell Alman from SF Alman, during this conversation has been that there has been a wonderful evolution of people who have committed to buying local, and we want everyone to commit to buying local. That's sort of what the theme of the show is. But hey, Ferrell, so coming back to something, I want to share with you a quote from Richard Branson. Everybody knows Richard Branson, the famous entrepreneur. But he said that business opportunities are like buses. There's always another one coming. And this quote, I think, really kind of speaks to the entrepreneurial spirit that's required and the continuous need for local businesses to adapt in order to thrive in the business that you're in. But, man, you know that. You know there's always another bus coming. You can get hit by it, or you can adapt appropriately.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, you in my business now, just adapting to all the technology and things like that, and competing with the internet. And then you look for other opportunities too out there in retail. We haven't always just been in the men's clothing business. We tried Stride Right shoes out at the mall years ago, back in the late 80s. Had a Stride Right children's shoe store. And that was just, boy, talk about a tough business, trying to get little kids to get shoes on and the mothers to get the right fit and the right style and all like that. So we tried that for a while, and then it closed. And then we also had a store out at the Hard Rock. We had Taunt, our high-end denim jean store, catering to the Hard Rock base of customers that came in there. And we did that for, about 10 years or so, and then ended up selling that to our managers there. And then Hard Rock made some changes and wanted to convert that space. So that was no more at the Hard Rock. And so, yeah, we have been through some in our journey of these 41 years trying other retail things such as the shoe business and high-end denim. But after 41 years, I found, you know what, do one thing and do it well. And so we've had people say, well, why don't you, move to other, hot areas on the coast, such as Ocean Springs or Bay St. Louis. And if I could clone David Bell and all my workers and me and Rose, if we could clone ourselves, then yeah, we would, have stores in Ocean Springs, Bay St. Louis. We'd go retail all over the world if we could do that. If I could get the team I have at my store, we could be successful all over if I could clone everybody.
I'm actually surprised you haven't done some of that. I bet it's been tantalizing at times.
Oh yeah, to try to do other stores. Yeah, it's just it's a lot of work, needless to say. And then again, like we talked about, trying to get the people, the staff, to work there and to man it and to run it the way you want to run it. Maybe I'm too specific, about trying to get the same people in there to run it. So. Again, you can ask a lot of people that are successful in business, and they say, you know what, if it all comes back, do the one thing you do well and do the one thing you enjoy doing. And so luckily, like we talked about, my loyal customers that come from state line to state line and up to Hattiesburg to all over, where people do drive to come see us. Because, again, we try to provide a unique product, unique service that they just can't get in a lot of other places. So we're blessed with that.
Hey, Ferrell, to some extent, we talked about this the first time you and I chatted a couple of years ago. But your dad owned 7-Up Bottling Company here in coastal Mississippi. He was iconic during the holidays, especially as he as he expressed his "Have a great year" and "Merry Christmas to you" and those wonderful messages. I mean, again, everybody remembers him. Of course, I remember him from the neighborhood. Always been just a kind, wonderful man. But he was also super engaged in the community. So, look, we can talk about community engagement, but for you, my sense is it's not about what your store can get from your community engagement. It's really more about what's in your DNA, taught to you by your parents, about you got to give back. But that's true, isn't it? That there's that part of you that's going to be involved in the community.
Well, yeah, if you're going to have a local business, I mean, you're living there, not just working there, but you're living there, and you're in the community. You're attending worship somewhere in a church. You're involved in different groups, from Mardi Gras to civic groups to other things like that. And we've been involved. Rose, my wife Rose, was one of the founders with Carol Lynn Meadows of the Lynn Meadows Discovery Center, and that took up 10 years of her life. I mean, our children were born and raised, going to the Discovery Center to watch its growth and get it open. So doing that was a real highlight of my life, and for Rose, for her to do that. So proud of her for doing that. And then I was involved in the chamber. I was the head of the World's Fair in New Orleans. I was head of the tourist committee for the chamber, and so we had Gulfport Day at the World's Fair. So I was the chairman for that, and I can't remember how we got it, but Alan Thicke was our guest there also for that day. And so that was a lot of fun, getting involved and helping promote Gulfport that way. And then I got a call years ago, back in 2013, I think it was, when George Schlogel called me to ask me if I would be a Gulfport Municipal Election Commissioner, which I thought, well, what is that? How long, what all is involved in that? And when it was explained and looked at it a little more, I said, yeah, I'll volunteer to be a municipal election commissioner. And then, what's even better was it's only every 4 years. So it's only when there are city elections or if there's a special election, like we had to run the one for the Gulfport school bond. When we had the bond to improve the Gulfport school system years ago, the Election Commission runs that election. We had a Mississippi Power to where everybody was like, huh? What is this? What is Mississippi Power thing? Well, they have to renew the community license to be able to provide the power for the community. And so you have to have an election, a general election, to vote on that. And so we ran that. And then, of course, the city elections for mayor and city council of Gulfport, the election commissioner is responsible for that. And there's 5 of us in it, me, Dr. Brenda Mathews, Cindy Creel, Marcy Wilson, and Stephanie Norris. And so the 5 of us are responsible for making sure the elections are run fairly and organized. And so that's one thing that my dad instilled in me was pride in America, and making sure that this is the greatest country in the world. So how can I get involved in doing that? Well, like Tip O'Neill said, the former Speaker of the House said, all politics are local. And so I thought, well, how can I get involved locally? I sure don't want to be a politician. I don't want to run for any office. And so, which you ought to do that, Ricky. Let's talk about that on another show. Anyway, so I thought, well, how can I get involved? And so this is one way that can get involved in the election process, and helping to make sure that process that people have shed blood for is run on the local level with the greatest integrity.
When you watch states like California still counting votes after having the experience that you have, it just boggles your mind that we're not more advanced than that.
Yeah, I mean, in ours, of course, for city elections, it's not easy. I mean, there's still a lot of work that has to go into it. But on the national level, and I saw it, and again, an election is only as good as your poll workers, to me, and poll managers, because those are the ones that are right there all day long, and they have to have the wherewithal and the smarts to be able to run that. And then, of course, it goes all the way up the chain, up to the Secretary of State and the Attorney General. Secretary of State has to make sure that all the regulations are formed up for each election to make sure they're accurate and conform through the AG's office to make sure that it conforms with the national policies for elections. And then that trickles down all the way to the county election commissioners and their job that they're elected to do. To run the county and the elections on a county, which they run the county, but they also run the national. The municipal, we don't have anything to do with national elections, county elections. We are strictly for the city. And so, and one of our needs, while I'm, here talking about that, is we need poll workers. We need more poll managers to be there to run the polls. That's one way, just as I did being an election commissioner. You don't have to be a commissioner, but you can get involved by being one of the poll managers. And that's the workers that you see there every time you go in for an election. Those are the people that are in there. And there's just a need for those because that's what keeps it going.
It is what keeps it going. Listen, in my conversation with Michael Watson, Mississippi is doing a really good job, and we need poll workers across the state of Mississippi. But paper ballots and voter ID is something that everybody needs to go to across the United States. Hey, when we come back, we'll continue. I want to find out what the holiday shopping trends are with Ferrell Alman of SF Alman. We'll see you right after this. Welcome back to the Ricky Mathews Show from the Citizens Bank Studio. I really am enjoying this conversation with Ferrell Alman. Someone I grew up with and have watched him and his wife Rose achieve great success, not only in their store, but also in their commitment to community. And Ferrell's right. Rose, the work that she did to help with the Lynn Meadows Discovery Center, we told that story here on this show. I watched it working at the Sun-Herald, and it was a scenario where they would not accept no from anyone. It was the most amazing thing I have ever seen. They were bulls in a china shop, and as a result, we have one of the most important children museums in the children activity centers in the entire United States. So I love it. I love what they were able to accomplish. I want to shift gears for a second. Ferrell, if you think about what you've done to be successful, you said when we first started the show that the Christmas season is hugely important. And you also said you had to stay very in touch with what the gift trends are. When you look at what it's taken you to get ready for Christmas along with the trends, that started a long time ago, didn't it?
Oh, yeah. I mean, it from starting in 1983 when we opened and kind of seeing that, okay, clothing's always good. I mean, you can an easy gift is always to buy a guy a new shirt. Ties have gotten a bad rap too here lately. From neckties, everybody making jokes about, oh, you get a tie for Christmas. Well, yeah, those kind of things have changed, and that men aren't wearing ties as much as they used to. And on a side note, I got to say, now we're selling a lot of pocket squares, just a nice little colorful piece of fabric that can go in the chest pocket of your sport coat or suit, because there's so many occasions where there's these maybe business, casual meetings, parties, things where you're not required to wear a tie, but you wear a sport coat or maybe a suit. You can always put a little pocket square that's got a little color to it. And we've got them themed, with little Christmas things on it. So you can wear that to show your little extra. So, but then, all the things we sell, from clothing and all to, fun socks, things like that. But then also, I'm a gadget guy. I'm always a guy that's like, oh, look at this cool thing from, be it our Nebo lights that we do. They're always coming out with new lights. I tell you what, going to outdoor retailer for years, 10 years ago, I could see this lighting thing coming around and how this LED lighting thing was getting to be such a hot item. And now it really is, with the headlamps to regular lamps. We've got some lights that are like, go a 3/4 mile beam. I mean, so it's handheld and small. So a guy that might have one, the old Q beams on your boat, that could shine and heavy and all of that. Now they're down to like a handheld flashlight size. Now they're like in a pistol grip, and you can use that for a spotlight that goes 3/4 mile, either on your boat or in your yard. You need to see what's making that noise out there. We've got these. We've got some that are even for self-protection that are called the bat light. So that technology is something. I have Colonel Littleton Leather Goods, a guy up in Linville, Tennessee, that makes handcrafted leather goods, be it portfolios to a little leather stand you put on your desk that you put your phone on, and yet you can personalize it. Portfolios that we do year-round that for anybody that's in business can use a leather portfolio. We can have them personalized. But I like these kind of special things like these, plus, lots of other things that we do, be it from Yeti to luggage to things like that. I love for people to be able to take what they bought and walk out of the store and kind of hold it in their hands, and they go, wow, this is just the neatest, most unique gift. These people are going to love it. And most of the time we know maybe who they're giving it to. And that's another reason they come to us, is because, hey, I got to get a gift for this guy. I think he shops here. Do you know him? Oh, yeah, we know him. Yeah, okay. What do you think he would really like? Well, we've got this, we've got that. And again, we offer price points from opening price things up to, we've got Yeti chairs that are $300 that are collapsible that fold out. We've got these Turtle Box loudspeakers that are, $399, but it's a waterproof loudspeaker. You can dunk in the water and put it in the river. It gets muddy. You hose it off with a hose, take it out to the islands, get sand all over it. You just brush it off with a hose. So, yeah, we've got some things that might be a little more expensive. I've even got this thing called a whiskey tower. This guy in Texas makes these, and they're liquor dispensers. And the tap handles can either be a deer antler or gets these antique wooden golf clubs, and for the tap handles, you can get that as a tap handle to pull. Also, 50 caliber bullets, but the antlers are really unique. I mean, you would really like something like that. But you can dispense liquor or wine for those that enjoy a little bit of the spirits, but want to have a really impressive something to put at their bar or at their camp house or something like that. So, and those are a little more expensive. But again, sometimes people come in because they've got to find a gift for the guy or the girl that's got everything. And so that's why we try to say, well, I try to search for those things that the guy that's got everything would love this. It would be so unique to have this. So yeah, that's kind of, again, what we try to do as a specialty store.
Well, Ferrell, I can't tell you how much I appreciate you joining me today. This notion of the role that small retailers play in the community to make our community better and more unique. I can't overstate that. We have to make sure that we're spending money locally and that we're casting our vote for the kind of communities we want to have. And you did a great job today of sort of demonstrating what it takes to be successful. And I appreciate you spending some time with us.
Oh, thank you so much for having me on to talk about retail in general and the election process. Remember, get involved locally in your elections.
You bet. This has been Ferrell Alman from SF Alman. Have a great day, and we will see you tomorrow.